Welcome into BLTV Channel 6. I'm Brian Kell. We have invited quite a few candidates throughout our service territory area who find themselves in primary battles on the May 3rd primary election night. And this is one of those instances. We are pleased to welcome to the BLTV Channel 6 studio, I should say, Sheriff of Coffee County, Mr. Chad Partin. Sheriff, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Brian.
Tell us just a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a product of Coffee County, southern part of Coffee County. I was raised in the Hillsborough community, which has been a long time Ben Lomond service area. I remember the party line phones, Ben Lomond party line phones in the Prairie Plains community. But my father's Jimmy Partin, and my mother is Betty Blair Partin from Centertown, USA.
Bingo.
So I'm excited that I get to kind of talk to my Warren County relatives. So I'm half Warren County and half Coffee County, and I'm very proud of it. No. It's a good mix.
It is a good mix. It is a good DNA mix.
But yeah, I grew up there, went to school, and graduated at Coffee County, and have worked in and around law enforcement in the Coffee County Sheriff's Office since I graduated high school over 30 years ago now. And but I've moved around within county government, and I started out as a corrections officer while I was in college, and even came and transferred out a little while, and I had a tour of duty and a sheriff's administration up here for 3 years, and went into the district attorney general's office in Manchester. Back in those days, the Drug and Violent Crime Task Force covered Coffee, Warren, and Van Buren. And it was the 31st and the 14th judicials were together. But anyway, ended up spending nearly 8 years in the District Attorney General's office in Manchester. Went over and did a bout with emergency management and homeland security. Did a lot of grant work, and a lot of that was a transitional phase into more homeland security types things of analyzing threats and assessments statewide during that time, and went back into the sheriff's office somewhere around 06, 07. Went in and worked as a detective for the sheriff's office, and spent a lot of time working narcotics again, and all types of crimes, which is the same thing we did at the DA's office. But and then I ran for sheriff in 18 and was gracious enough that the citizens of Coffee County saw that my resume and qualifications were good enough then to put me in the office, and what a whirlwind 4 years it has been.
I didn't mention this on the very start, but this is a contested race, and so a lot of the folks that we're inviting on are involved in contested races, some of the higher profile races, and this being one of those, but wanted to mention that near the start of this. You are an incumbent, so yes. I guess a great question for you would be to talk about some of the major successes over the past 4 years.
Well, I think everybody at home knows that my last election I campaigned and made promises. Number one, putting SROs in the rest of our rural schools in Coffee County on day one, and I'm happy to say September 1st, 2018, SROs went into those rural schools. And it's a very successful program. I knew it would be a successful program. We've got those deputies inside those schools to build relationships with the students and our children, but teachers and staff of the school system, and providing that sense of security. Back 4 years ago, one of the most heightened things we had was the violence inside schools across the nation. There was lots of grants put out, but we did this before the grants came about. There was some residual towards it. I wasn't happy about having armed deputies inside schools. But with that being said, in Coffee County, a lot of our schools are along that interstate corridor. And a lot of our schools, we've got one school that is on a county road and not on a state highway in Coffee County. We have, unlike Warren County, we have 30 miles of interstate that stretches with folks anywhere from Chicago to Miami coming through. And the second biggest thing is the tax dollar. And we run right at a $10 million budget in Coffee County with that 400-bed mini prison we have. It's big business. And I knew I could come in there and change the way we do business and change our model. We've been very successful at it. If it's not broke, we don't fix it. A lot of folks in government have been so used to that. At the end of their budgets, they think if they've got leftover monies, spend, or you might not get it back. Well, that's not true, because it's not our money to blow. It is you, the taxpayers' dollars. But to go out and buy guns and toys and equipment, no. We refrain from that, and I'm happy to say that we've been right at $1 million or just over $1 million to the good in our budget for the last 3 years. So that's over $3 million in the last 3 years, and we're set to be really good going at the end of this budget cycle into June.
What do you feel like is the single most pressing issue facing law enforcement in Coffee County? And then a second part of that, what are some, besides the single most pressing issue and how you plan to deal with that, what are some other pressing issues as well moving forward?
Well, unfortunately, I come from a narcotics background, and unfortunately, we still are battling the drug war. And I'm afraid, Brian, that is a forever battle. And we've heard that since the mid to late 70s. There's a cycle. And for those folks that have been around a long time, they've seen those cycles. Today we have the issue with fentanyl, and unfortunately we're seeing deaths, overdose deaths. We're losing a lot of young folks to this, and that is our biggest fear. And also the fear with fentanyl is the potential for death in law enforcement of handling and being around that. We thought the meth lab days were bad. Well, you can suit up for a meth lab. This is an unknown, and with the transportation and of fentanyl and pure fentanyl now coming available, and certain drugs being laced with fentanyl or being posed as a different drug and it ended up being fentanyl, that is remarkably dangerous. What do we do to combat that? Well, I formed a countywide narcotics group, my special investigations unit. It was started out with all 3 agencies involved in it. There's been some administrative maneuvers within that agency. Tullahoma is looking in the future of bringing one back. Their agent they had with us went on to an FBI task force, but they're grooming somebody else to come back with us, and it's been very successful. I know in the last 1.5 to 2 years, we have sent over 80 major drug dealers into the federal system. And we've taken those folks off the street, removed them. We're going after the key people that are supplying these drugs to our young folks and adults alike. And we've been involved in major drug cases. I know that we were involved in a major drug case in Atlanta, and I tell my folks, if you get information on this, go after it. Go get this large amount of drug off the streets with whatever agency you've got to go far and wide to do before it gets distributed out. And we've been involved in some major federal cases on that aspect.
Sheriff's responsibilities include oversight of in your case, the Coffee County Jail. What are your goals for it over the next 4 years?
Well, number one, to maintain and work with the judiciary on maintaining that under or jail population. Anytime we get into jails where we're overcrowded, we start running into issues. Not only are we overcrowded and looking at losing our jail certification and being put on notice by the state or the federal government, we're looking at more assaults. We're looking at more injuries. We're looking at more medical issues. We're looking at more food dietary issues. So I work really well with our judges, our DA, and our defense bar. You know, I try to stay and keep them informed. Hey, this is where we're at, and you know, let's prioritize our battles, so to speak. Right now, we're averaging about a 380 capacity out of 400 beds, and you know, when I took office, we were at 436, 438. You know, we were over, you know, kind of over capacity.
Over the past few years, we've seen some police departments kind of put in the crosshairs of some controversial issues. You know, nationally, I think surveys have shown, again, nationally, that people in police forces maybe are taking some early retirements or resigning. Does that concern you? And if it does, how do you combat that as far as what we're seeing nationally?
Yeah, you know, when I got into law enforcement 30 years ago, it was a cool job. It's not no more, Brian. It's a profession that has gotten criticized nationwide and gotten a lot of bad press and you know, but that's in any profession. You can have bad TV hosts.
You sure
can have bad news channels. You can have bad barbers. You can have bad folks on a line in a factory.
Yeah.
You know, you only hear about the 0.001% of bad apples that causes fallout for everybody else. I have to say, here in Tennessee, I'm very proud of over the 20,000 officers we have in this state. I'm very proud of the conduct. We work real hard on our training. We have to be aware of the climate in our society, and we kind of have to curtail the way we do business towards that. Now, we also have to keep that line drawn.
Yeah.
Okay? We keep the line drawn in the sand and say, hey, when you cross that threshold, we've got a problem. Fortunately, or I don't know if I was fortunate or unfortunate, but the governor, Lee, when he was elected right after me, appointed me to the Tennessee Post Commission. And just after I got appointed, I was nominated to be vice chair. And then a year later, I was put in the hot seat in the chairmanship.
Right.
And I see a lot of the bad apples. We also have to oversee the many academies, training academies in the state, and we're over the training criteria for the whole state. So I'm on the very forefront of the training that comes to law enforcement in the state. And we've worked on that. We've worked on that with the issues that the governors wanted to put in place and the state legislatures wanted to put in place. But we've also had to educate them on issues of saying, hey, bad idea, this is going to backfire on you. But we're working on community inclusion. You know, we're working on how we look. And I know after I took office, I wanted to bring our officers back to a very professional look. You see today officers with a lot of these SWAT-looking uniforms, and they've got all these military-looking items on their uniforms, and a lot of AR-15s and magazines. You know, we're in the civilian world, especially here in rural Tennessee. I took that out, and I wanted to bring us back something to make us less aggressive going into a call. You know, if we're called out to a dispute, you're already going into a heated situation, and there's no sense of you coming in with a look that makes you aggressive. We're there to de-escalate.
Appreciate your time
Yes,
coming
sir.
over here and doing this. Kind of the last part here, if you would address the person that's watching this in Coffee County as to why you feel that you are the best person for this job, Sheriff of Coffee County.
Well, we have a number of people running in Coffee County, and they're good people. What makes me better than the rest of them is, well, I do have 4 years of sheriff experience. I do have experience in the jail. I have your budgetary experience. I have experience of dealing with nearly 140 employees, which is an HR management issue. I feel that the job that we've done the last 4 years, that I've proven to you, the voters, that I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do, and that's the reason our theme is promises made, promises kept, and we want to keep building on that. At the end of the day, the two biggest things that I see in society that folks really worry about, is particularly with me as a sheriff, as elected official, is, are we safe? Is your community safe? And is this sheriff wasting your tax dollars? And I feel like that we're doing a great job on both ends, and we just want to continue to do that and continue to build a good team with our department and be good stewards to you, the safety, and the tax dollar to the citizens of Coffee County.
Sheriff Chad Partin,
Brian,
thank you for coming by
Yes, sir.
and speaking with us.
It's been great.
And we appreciate you watching this interview on BLTV Channel 6. Join us May 3rd, Tuesday night, 7 p.m. here on Channel 6, as we'll be covering 6 counties and getting election returns in for that. We'll have it not only on BLTV Channel 6, but also our Facebook page live on that, and also our YouTube channel. So several different ways for you to be able to catch our coverage. And so until we catch you again here on Channel 6, have a great day.